The cold metal cuffs bit into her wrists. Blood trickled down her pale arms, mixing with dirt and bruises. The guards dragged her across the black stone floor, laughing as her bare feet scraped behind her. Her name was Alira, and she was only 17. She didn't scream. She had done that earlier, when they broke her fingers. Now she was silent. Her head hung low, long brown hair covering her face. Her lips were cracked. Her eyes were half shut, but in her chest, her heart still beat strong. "Bring the human trash to the chamber," one of the guards barked. The Zerth were tall, armored creatures with red skin and glowing yellow eyes. Their world had no mercy, no kindness. They ruled with pain, and today they wanted to show the galaxy what happened to those who defied them. "This is what happens when humans speak against the Dominion," said a high-ranking officer, standing inside the dark chamber ahead. "Let her be the warning." Alira was thrown to the center of the room. She hit the floor hard. Her arms shook. Her knees gave out. But she stayed on her hands and knees, breathing slow. Chains clanged around her. The Zereth locked her wrists to the ground. They placed cameras in every corner, ready to broadcast her pain to every screen in the galaxy. "Say your final words," the officer sneered, stepping closer. "You're weak, small, just a child. Did Earth really think it could scare us?" Alira looked up. One eye was swollen shut. Blood ran down her temple, but the other eye, the one that stared at the officer, was calm. Cold, not angry, not afraid. Just waiting. "I have no final words," she said softly, "only timer." The officer laughed. "What?" Alira looked at the ceiling, at the camera above. 37 minutes, she whispered. That was all she said. The room went quiet. The guards looked at each other, confused. Then they laughed again. "She's gone mad." "Maybe we hit her too hard." The officer leaned forward. "What timer, girl? Are you trying to scare us?" Alira didn't answer. She closed her eyes. Inside her mind, a soft sound echoed. Beep, beep. A hidden countdown had begun. High above the planet, a human scout ship drifted in the darkness. Inside, a woman sat in silence. Her eyes stared at a red dot on the screen. She hadn't moved for hours. She hadn't slept in days. The name blinking on the screen was ALIRA, Signal Locked. A voice came through the comms. "Commander Wren, the signal is active." The woman stood. Her face was calm, but her hands were clenched. "Is the 37-minute protocol ready?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. Everything is in place. We just need your word." Commander Wren looked out the window, at the stars of the world below. Then she nodded. "Let them hurt her for 37 minutes, she said. "After that, we turn their world to ash." Back in the chamber, the Zereth officers circled Alira like a beast. "What are you?" He growled. "Some kind of spy." Still, she stayed quiet. They kicked her, shocked her, broke more bones. Still, she didn't scream. She just stared at the floor. Beep, 2812, beep. The cameras kept recording. Billions across the galaxy watched the live feed. Some wept, others cheered, but no one changed the channel. Because they could feel it. Something was coming. Down in the control room, alarms suddenly blinked. Lights flickered. A guard tapped his screen. "Sir, there's strange interference in the grid," he said. "Doors are unlocking. Surveillance is failing." "Get a technician," the officer snapped. "It's probably just." Then the lights went out. Every camera went black. A soft humming filled the silence, and in the darkness, Alira opened her eyes. Beep, 2247. Her cuffs began to glow. Her fingers, broken just minutes ago, twitched. A spark danced across her skin. Somewhere deep inside her, something ancient awakened. She whispered one word. The cameras couldn't catch it, but the walls felt it. The ship felt it. The planet began to tremble. The lights were still out. Darkness swallowed the chamber where Alira knelt, bound in chains. The Zereth guards shouted in confusion. Flashlights flickered on, shaking in nervous hands. Thick silence filled the space between each footstep. "She's still here," one of them whispered. But Alira didn't move. Not yet. Inside her body, things were changing. Her heart beat faster, not from fear, but from awakening. Nano-machines hidden in her blood for years had activated the moment her signal reached orbit. Beep, 2211. She could hear it clearly now, the timer in her mind. Her body was healing, bones knitting, skin tightening, muscles growing stronger with every second. The pain remained, but her nerves were adjusting. She felt everything, and she embraced it. Pain made her human, but what was growing inside her was no longer just human. In the Zereth control room, chaos spread. Systems are failing all over the complex. Doors aren't responding. There's something inside our network. The officer slammed his fist on the console. Shut it down. Kill the power. Destroy the cameras. We already did, a technician stammered. But something's still broadcasting. Across the galaxy, on thousands of screens, the broadcast was still active. Though the feed had turned to static, people continued watching. Soldiers, politicians, civilians. All waiting. Because everyone had heard what the girl said. 37 minutes. Back in the chamber, a guard stepped forward with a shock baton. Enough of this, he growled. She's just a child. He moved to strike her. Alira's head snapped up. And then she moved. Fast. Too fast. With a loud crack, she broke the chain on her right wrist. The metal snapped like it was made of glass. The guard froze. She looked him in the eyes. Beep, 2035. She yanked her left arm free, stood in one smooth motion, and grabbed the baton as it came down toward her. Sparks flew. She twisted it from the guard's hand and drove her elbow into his chest. The sound of bones breaking echoed through the chamber. He flew across the room, hit the wall, and didn't get back up. The others screamed. She's enhanced. Open fire. Too late. Alira vanished into the shadows, fast, silent, deadly. For the next 5 minutes, the chamber became a nightmare. Gunfire echoed. Flashlights swung wildly. One by one, the guards disappeared, pulled into the dark, silenced. Only the officer remained, shaking, his blaster aimed at the ceiling. He turned in circles, eyes wide, sweat pouring down his face. I'm not afraid, he yelled. You're just a girl. Beep, 1610. A whisper came from behind him. You should be. He turned, just in time to see a fist strike him in the chest. He flew across the room and hit the floor hard, coughing, gasping. Alira stood over him, breathing heavily. Her arms trembled, not from weakness, but from raw power barely held back. She leaned down. Remember this pain, she said, because your world is about to feel it. Elsewhere in the facility, the walls shuddered. Doors exploded open. Turrets turned and fired, at their own guards. Machines obeyed her now. She was in the system. She was the system. Commander Wren stood on the bridge of the human scout ship above the planet. Her eyes never left the screen. Alira's vitals flashed across the monitor, rising, spiking, stable. Status, she asked. She's breached their defenses, a tech officer said. Power surges across their entire grid. They're blind. She's controlling their core systems. Commander Wren gave a small smile. She made it to Phase 2. The officer nodded. Shall we alert Earth High Command? Wren shook her head. Not yet. Let her finish the 37 minutes. Inside the Zereth complex, alarms now screamed non-stop. Troops rushed through halls. Lights flashed red, but the building itself betrayed them, slamming doors, cutting power, locking weapons. In the command center, one of the Zereth generals shouted, Shut it all down. Wipe everything. But the screens began to flicker. A symbol appeared. It was not Zereth. It was Earth's insignia, sharp, silver, with a single blue eye at the center. Then a voice came through every speaker. Alira's voice. You broke me. You laughed while I screamed. You thought I was weak, but I warned you. Her voice was calm, cold. Now your time runs out. Back in the chamber, Alira walked toward the large metal door. Beep, 12-2. She placed her hand on the scanner. It hissed open, and beyond it, Zereth soldiers stood frozen, afraid. They saw her face, her glowing eyes, her cracked smile. And they ran. She didn't chase. Not yet. First, she needed to finish what she started. Because when the clock hit 0, she wouldn't just escape. She would break their world. The world didn't explode with fire. Not yet. Instead, it went quiet. Too quiet. Alira walked through the Zereth base like a ghost. Her bare feet touched the cold floor, leaving faint trails of blood and dust. Her long hair floated behind her like smoke. Sirens had stopped. Guns had fallen silent. The only sound now was the faint hum of broken machines and her steady breathing. Beep, 9:48. Each second that passed made her stronger. The nanotech inside her bloodstream was almost fully awakened. Her muscles were no longer human level. Her mind processed faster than any computer in the base. But her heart still beat like a girl who once had dreams. She remembered Earth, her home, her school, her mother's voice, the day she was taken, and the promises she made to herself through broken teeth and pain. If I get out, I'll make them pay. Every last one. In the north wing, a squad of Zareth soldiers waited. They crouched behind steel barriers, weapons aimed at the hallway where Alira would appear. Their leader, Commander Grawl, was shaking. "She's just one human," he barked. "We are Zareth warriors. We not run." But his voice cracked. His men could see the fear in his yellow eyes. And then, the lights above them flickered. One by one, they burst. Pop, pop, pop. Darkness. "Flashlights on," someone whispered. The lights turned on, and that's when they saw her. Alira stood at the end of the hallway. Head tilted, hands relaxed, no armor, no weapons. Just a girl covered in scars. Grawl screamed, "Fire." A wave of plasma bolts lit up the hallway, shaking the walls. But Alira moved. She wasn't just fast. She was impossible. She darted left, rolled forward, then launched herself off the wall like a shadow. She didn't stop. Didn't hesitate. She got in close. And then, silence. The soldiers collapsed one by one. No screams, no time. Commander Grawl was the last. She pinned into the wall with one hand. "I watched you laugh," she whispered. "When they broke my ribs, you laughed the loudest." "Pete, please," he begged. "I didn't know. You were enhanced. I didn't know." "You didn't need to know," Alira said coldly. "You know I was alive. That was enough." Her hand glowed with heat. The wall behind him melted, and he was gone. Beep, 719. Back in orbit, Commander Wren stared at the countdown. "She's ahead of schedule," the technician said. "All sectors are collapsing. Enemy command lines are dark." Wren nodded. "Prepare Phase 3. "What about extraction?" Wren narrowed her eyes. "She's not ready to leave. She's still talking." Alira reached the central core, the heart of the base. It was a large circular room filled with glowing machines and columns of data servers. At the center sat a Zareth intelligence officer, eyes wide, fingers frozen above his controls. He tried to run. Alira stepped in front of him without a sound. "You broadcasted my torture to the galaxy," she said. "Why?" He trembled. "They made me. The High Council wanted to send a message to the humans. And now I'll send one back." She lifted him with one hand and tossed him aside. He hit the wall, didn't move. Alira stepped to the main console. The screen flickered. She uploaded her signal. Across the stars, every Zareth screen came alive again. But this time, it wasn't her in chains. It was her standing free, powerful, eyes glowing silver. And she spoke. "My name is Alira, human, survivor, weapon. You showed my pain to the stars. You broke my body. But you never broke my will. And now I show you what 37 minutes feels like." Behind her, explosions lit up the base. Gas lines burst. Generators overloaded. Defense turrets fired on empty walls. The Zareth were no longer in control. She was. Beep, 438. The Zareth High Command watched in silence from their warship far above the planet. None of them spoke. They saw the fear in their own eyes reflected on the screen. "She's only one human," one whispered. "But she's not alone," another said. "She's the signal." They turned toward the star maps. Dozens of Earth ships were already moving, quiet, focused. This was no longer a warning. It was a beginning. Back on the surface, Alira walked through flames and falling steel. She wasn't limping anymore. Her spine had healed. Her arms were steady. Her voice strong. As she moved through the crumbling halls, survivors whispered her name. Some begged. Some cried. None were spared. She had no mercy left. Beep, 27. Alira reached the final sector, the escape bay. But she didn't step inside. Instead, she turned and looked back at the destruction. All of it caused by one girl. She sat on the floor, waiting, eyes closed, breathing slow, and the timer in her mind whispered its last numbers. Beep, 1 o'clock. Alira sat alone in the burning ruins of the Zareth Command Center. Flames danced along the walls. Smoke curled around her like a dark veil. The floor beneath her was cracked and shaking, the structure of the base failing more every second. She could hear it, the end coming. But her face was calm. No fear, no regret, only silence and a memory of pain. Far above, aboard the stealth human warship Blackthorn, Commander Wren stood watching the live feed from Alira's implant. "She's not moving," said the officer beside her. "We need to extract her now." Wren didn't answer. Her eyes stayed locked on the screen. "I gave her the choice," Wren whispered, "and she's made it." Beep, 047. Alira opened her eyes. The fires had dimmed. Her body no longer ached. The enhanced systems inside her were quiet now, almost respectful, like even the machine part of her knew what this moment meant. She looked at her own hands. So much blood on them, not just from the enemy, but from what she had become. She had been broken, but in the breaking, she was born again. Not as a weapon, not even as a girl, but as a message. And the galaxy was about to hear it. Beep 034. From orbit, Zereth fleet commanders screened orders. Abort countdown. Shut down the core. Where is the girl? But it was too late. Their systems were compromised. The virus she left behind inside their computers had spread faster than fire. Their warships began losing control. Turrets turned inward. Shields dropped. And still the clock ticked. Beep 020. Alira stood. The ground beneath her shook violently now. Pipes burst. Metal groaned. Her long hair blew around her like smoke caught in wind. She walked toward the final chamber, where the fusion core was held. Massive, glowing, unstable. This was the heart of the base, and she was going to stop it from beating ever again. She placed one hand on the control pad. Her voice, soft but full of steel, echoed through the Zereth network one last time. "I was not born to destroy," she said, "but you forced me to learn how, and now you will remember." Beep 010. The fusion core trembled. On the Zereth homeworld, leaders watched in horror as the final feed from the base showed a single human girl standing before the heart of their greatest outpost, and smiling. One of the High Lords whispered, "Stop her." Another cried, "We should have never touched Earth," but it was already over. Beep 09, 08, 07. The countdown echoed through the ship Blackthorn. Wren whispered a quiet goodbye. She did more than any army ever could. "Are we really going to leave her?" the officer asked. Wren turned slowly. Her eyes were wet, but steady. "She's not asking for rescue. She's becoming the spark." Beep 06. The flames behind Alira rose like wings. Her body glowed faintly now, energy radiating from the nanocore inside her chest. Her DNA had fused with the weapon systems long ago. She was the key, and now she was the end. Beep 05. Outside, human long-range ships had already warped away. But the message she sent still spread, across the galaxy, to every race, to every empire. A warning and a promise. Beep 04. Alira closed her eyes and smiled. Beep 03. From space, a burst of light appeared on the planet's surface. Then a second pulse. Brighter, hotter. The ground cracked open. Beep 02. The Zereth base, their strongest military center, vanished in a ball of white-blue fire. A column of energy shot into space. Zereth ships caught in orbit were torn apart. Their control center went dark. Silence again. Beep 01. And then, nothing. The timer stopped. No more sound. No more movement. Only the quiet of space and the memory of her voice. But deep inside the wreckage, something flickered. Not fire, not energy, but life. A soft pulse. Faint. Like a heartbeat. Back on the Blackthorn, alarms suddenly beeped. "Ma'am," the technician gasped. "We're receiving a signal." Commander Wren rushed to the console. The screen blinked once, then twice. Then a voice, raspy but alive, came through. "Extraction requested." Wren's eyes widened. "She's alive," she whispered. "She actually survived." The crew jumped into motion. "Lock coordinates. Prep medbay. Get the jump gate open now." Below in the smoking crater where the base once stood, a figure rose from the ash. Her clothes were gone. Her skin burned. But her eyes, they still glowed. Alira. The girl who had died in chains. Now, reborn in fire. The medical lights were too bright. Alira blinked slowly, her eyes trying to adjust. Everything felt distant. The hum of machines, the soft beeping of heart monitors, voices, low, hurried, scared. She was alive. That should have felt like a miracle. But something was wrong. Commander Wren stood outside the glass chamber, arms crossed tight over her chest. A thick silence wrapped around her and the team of doctors inside the medbay. "She shouldn't be breathing," the chief medic said. "That energy blast would have killed anything, even our strongest soldiers." Wren didn't speak. She only stared through the glass at the girl lying inside. Alira. The girl who had destroyed an empire's heart. Now motionless, but not dead? No, not quite. Hours passed. Alira's body healed at a speed that shouldn't have been possible. Burnt skin repaired itself, bones reformed. Even the deep gashes closed without a scar. But it wasn't natural healing. The nanotech inside her was changing everything. Rewriting her. Fixing her, but not as a human. As something else. She's not just enhanced anymore, the medic whispered, scanning her brainwaves. Something inside her is still active. Still rewriting code. She's evolving. Ren's jaw tightened. She broke the Zereth with fire. What if now she breaks us? Inside the glass room, Alira opened her eyes again. This time, the lights didn't bother her. She could see clearer than ever. Every flicker of electricity. Every heartbeat around her. Every emotion, leaking from people's minds like a scent in the air. She gasped and sat up. The pain was gone. So was the fear. She didn't feel like the same girl anymore. And that scared her. Ren entered the chamber slowly. Alira turned her head, her gaze sharp like a blade. You ate it out, Ren said softly. Alira nodded. I think I did. Ren paused. But? Alira looked down at her hands. They don't feel like mine anymore. Ren stepped closer, her voice gentle but steady. You saved millions of lives. You destroyed their base. You survived the impossible. You don't have to be afraid now. Alira raised her head. I'm not afraid of them, she said. I'm afraid of me. That night, Alira sat alone in her dark room aboard the ship. She didn't sleep. She couldn't. The nightmares weren't just dreams. They were memories. Clear, raw, loud. Every scream from the base echoed in her skull. But there was more. She saw things she had never seen before. Images, visions, other worlds, other minds, a vast network calling to her. Whispers in languages she didn't know, but could suddenly understand. She pressed her hands against her temples. Her head was splitting open with information. And in the middle of all of it, a shape. Something waiting in the dark. Something watching her. The next morning, alarms rang across Blackthorn. Commander, you need to see this. Ren stormed into the command deck. What now? The officer pointed at the tactical screen. Zereth ships. 5 of them. They're just sitting there. No weapons. No shields. What? Ma'am, they're broadcasting a signal. The crew turned silent as the message played. It wasn't a warning. It was a single sentence. One line repeated in every known language. We not seek war. We seek the one who broke our world. Ren's blood ran cold. They're not here for us, she whispered. They're here for her. Down in her room, Alira stood at the window, staring into space. She already knew. She had felt them coming hours before they arrived. And somehow, deep in her chest, she understood what they wanted. Not revenge. Not blood. But something worse. Fear. They were afraid of her. And they should be. Because she wasn't just a girl anymore. She was becoming something new. Something not even the humans could control. Later, she told Ren, they'd changed. I'd changed them. Ren frowned. What do you mean? Alira's eyes shimmered faintly. The Zereth, they had a hive mind link. When I destroyed the base, I touched that link. And now, I can still feel it. You're connected to them. Yes, I can hear the voices. All of them. Every Zereth, whispering across stars. They're afraid. They'd never felt lost before. And now, they feel me. Ren stared at her. What are you turning into, Alira? She looked down, then back up, eyes glowing with something ancient. I don't know, but I don't think it's human anymore. Alira stood at the center of the command deck. Everyone around her kept their distance. Even Commander Ren. The girl who once cried in chains now stood like a storm in silence, calm, but heavy with power. The 5 Zereth ships remained outside their ship, floating without weapons. Waiting. They were not there to attack. They were there to listen. Ren broke the silence. Alira, they're still sending that message. They want you to speak. Alira didn't look surprised. I know, she whispered. I've already spoken to them. Ren frowned. What do you mean? Alira turned slowly. Last night, I reached into their network. I didn't mean to. But it was like they left a door open inside my mind. I saw everything. She looked at the stars through the window. They fear me. Not because I'm strong, but because I understand them now. The crew exchanged nervous glances. What'd you tell them? Ren asked. Alira's voice was soft, yet it filled the room. I told them what it felt like to break. The words hung in the air like ice. In deep space, far beyond the Blackthorn's radar, Zereth High Command was in chaos. Dozens of leaders gathered in black halls, speaking in crackling tones. She is still alive. She should not be. She entered our minds. We saw what she saw, felt her pain. They had never known fear before. Now they couldn't breathe without it. They had created something worse than an enemy. They had created memory. And that memory was burning through every Zereth mind like fire. Alira stood at the center of the ship's conference room. In front of her was a communicator, one strong enough to send messages across systems. Ren placed her hand on the table. "You don't have to do this," she said. Alira met her eyes. "Yes, I do. They need to hear me. All of them." Ren gave a slow nod and stepped back. The room dimmed. A soft chime signaled the transmission was live. Alira closed her eyes, then opened them with power. Her voice was calm, clear, and full of cold fire. "This is Alira, human, survivor. You broke me. You thought I would die. You thought my screams were the sound of weakness. But now, I carry your pain. I carry every name you erased. You took my body, but now I hold your minds." She paused, then continued, "You not fear weapons. You fear understanding. You fear being seen as you are. And now, I see you. I see all of you." Across the galaxy, her voice reached out like thunder. In every Zereth ship, soldiers froze. Their hive mind vibrated with a voice that didn't belong, but it echoed inside. Their thoughts were no longer private. She had stepped into their mind and left a mark. And now she was speaking through it. Back on the ship, Ren and the others watched in silence. They didn't know whether to feel proud or afraid. Alira wasn't the same girl they had rescued. She was something else. Something beyond human. The response came quickly. From the largest of the Zereth ships. A new signal, one never sent before. It translated into only 2 words. "We surrender." The command deck exploded into shouts. Did they say surrender? That can't be right. Zereth never surrender. Ren stood frozen. She looked at Alira. The girl's face was unreadable. Alira simply whispered, "They'd never known loss before. Now they feel it in every breath." But it wasn't over. In the shadows of Zereth territory, others watched. Rival empires, old enemies, cold rulers. One voice rang in the dark halls of the Threx Dominion. If a single human girl can destroy the Zereth's mind, what could an army of them do? Another alien leader spat across the floor. "She's dangerous. If she speaks again, others will follow." In secret councils, across cold stars, a dark plan began to grow. She had become a symbol. And symbols are harder to kill than armies. Back aboard the Blackthorn, Alira sat alone in her room again. The stars were quiet. But she knew peace would not last. Ren entered quietly. "You changed the galaxy with one message," she said. Alira shook her head. "No, I only showed them what we are." Ren raised an eyebrow. "And what is that?" Alira looked up, eyes glowing softly in the dark. "A species that learns pain and never forgets it." The galaxy didn't sleep. Not after Alira's message. Not after the surrender of the Zereth. News spread faster than light. On colony worlds, humans gathered around old screens, watching replays again and again. Some cried. Some stood in silence. Some raised their fists and whispered. She spoke for all of us. She had become more than a survivor. She was now a symbol. A voice for every human who had ever been broken and left behind. But symbols attract both hope and fear. In the dark reaches of space, the Threx Dominion moved first. They couldn't allow the message to spread. A human girl speaking through alien networks. That was dangerous. That was power. And power like that must be destroyed. Without warning, the Threx launched a stealth fleet. Not to attack humanity directly, but to erase Alira. They believed removing her would stop the storm before it grew. They were wrong. On board the Blackthorn, alarms blared. Multiple ships incoming. Stealth tech, Threx configuration. Commander Ren stood up fast. "They're not here for war," she said, eyes cold. "They're here for her." Alira didn't move. She sat calmly, eyes closed. "They think if they take me, the message will die," she whispered. Ren looked at her. "They're scared. That's why they're here." Alira stood slowly. "I'm not running." The Threx ships surrounded them like silent knives. The Blackthorn was fast, but not fast enough to outrun 10 warships. Inside the ship, weapons powered up. Crew members took positions. But Alira moved to the main deck and did something unexpected. She sent another message. It was not just a call for help. It was a reminder. Her voice went out across star systems. They come for one voice. They come to silence it. But they forget, this voice is not mine alone. You heard me once. If I fall, then speak louder. Let the stars carry your voice. Don't wait for hope. Be it. The Threx commander received the message just as his ships prepared to fire. He laughed. Brave, he said, but foolish. Then his ship shook. Warning lights flashed. An officer screamed, multiple new ships incoming. First came one, a small Earth vessel. Then 10 more, then 50, and then hundreds. Ships from old human colonies. Ships from broken worlds. Even ships stolen from former alien enemies. They didn't come with orders. They came because they heard her. Because they believed her. The sky lit up. Lasers and shields. Shouts and warnings. But the Threx didn't stand a chance. They were surrounded. Overpowered. Outnumbered. And worse, they were outlived. Because they still thought war could end an idea. They had not learned. But the galaxy had. When the last Threx ship exploded in the dark, silence fell again. Alira stood at the heart of it. Alive. Unshaken. Ren walked beside her on the bridge. You didn't just survive, she said. Alira looked at the stars. No, she answered, I changed. Ren nodded. And you changed us with you. Back on Earth, a monument was raised. Not of Alira's face, but of a broken chain. And beneath it, words carved into steel. They broke her body, but she broke their silence. And in her voice, we all found ours. And across the stars, humans began to speak louder. To defend each other. To stand when others fell. Not because they were perfect. Not because they were unafraid. But because they had learned what it meant to break and still choose to rise. The end